Hi, everybody, and happy Independence Day. I'm Kathy Wing, Artistic Director of the Randall Theatre Company, and this is Ghostlighting Theater in the Dark, here on our new day and time. Tonight, we've got a great interview with the multi-talented Kristen Calvin and the final chapter in our virtual staged reading of Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. But first, I know we're all missing the big fireworks shows and other things we usually do on the 4th of July, but I hope you've been able to find other ways to keep the celebration going. As for the Randall Theatre Company, we're observing a different kind of independence as we are now working without an official space to call home. I mean, we've still got this corner in my living room, and for now, that will just have to do. But I want you to know that we're working very hard to find a place where we can put on the shows that we've planned, and at this point, we're still looking at a lot of different options. Some temporary, some long-term. Either way, we are excited about what lies ahead. So I'm hoping you will continue to support us along the way. Give us a like on our Facebook posts, send a donation when you can, and also, I cannot begin to tell you how much we love your comments and notes of encouragement. Keep those coming, because that's what keeps us going. Still ahead, we find out who the killer is in the final chapter of the Cam Duncan mystery. But first, she started out in Indiana, took a swing through Chicago, and luckily for us, found her way to Southern Oregon. Her first auditions in the area landed her roles in a couple of Randall Theater shows. After that, it wasn't long before she was in demand to perform in theaters throughout the Valley, including the Randall, Camelot, and Oregon Cabaret. Her soulful belt has led to opportunities to perform roles as Janis Joplin, Barbra Streisand, and other iconic singers. Next year, COVID permitting, you'll see her as Bette Midler. But for now, she's all ours. So now here is a little bit of my wonderful visit with Kristen Calvin. Kristen Calvin, one of my very favorite people, and I am so happy to see you. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. So, what have you been up to while we've been quarantining and whatnot?
Well, we were doing a little night music at Camelot and got an email that we were canceled, and that was that. We didn't get a closing performance. It was just done, and that was kind of the beginning of it. And then so I started gardening. I'm not much of a gardener, but I just kind of am learning as I go, and I've been cooking more, and I'm not much of a cook either, but I'm just like trying to do things that, I don't know, maybe I can get a little better at and have something to show for that time off. But now I'm back at work.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So we were off for about 6 weeks, and then now we're back and wearing a mask for 8 hours. And
well, I've heard other people say that when they go to work, they only have to make up like the top half of their face because the rest is covered with a mask all day. So
yeah, I mean, I'm so weird. I'm only a lipstick person. Like, I'm not much of an eye makeup person unless I'm in a show. And so I still wear lipstick underneath the mask. and I don't wear any eye makeup, but yeah, it's now all natural.
So you live in Ashland with your husband Noah and your wonderful little kitty Tinker.
Yeah.
But you are not originally from here. Where were you before you were in Ashland?
I am from Muncie, Indiana. I grew up there and went to school at Ball State, which is also in Muncie, and went to school for musical theater. And then after school, I moved to Chicago with some friends and did some acting and performance there. Met Noah there. And then he's from California originally. So we actually were kind of wanting to get out of the Midwest. And so a job offer in Ashland actually brought us here. And it ended up just being the perfect spot for both of us. And I fell in love with it the minute I saw it.
I was thinking back to when you and I first met, and it was when you came to audition for a show that we were doing at the Randall Theatre Company called Broadway Us, the 1960s. Really, I mean, absolutely blew me away with what you could do, and so of course cast you in that show. And long story short, it did not take long to realize that I mean, we were on to something special having you in that show. And it was so much fun. And I felt very honored to be able to sing with you. It
Right
was
back at you. It was such a special show. I have such fond memories of that time of my life, and working on a show that you created, and being a part of that collaboration of this thing that we all built, and it was really beautiful. I have nothing but fond memories of that. Who doesn't love the 1960s? It's my favorite decade.
You went on to do a couple other shows at the Randall, and you were in Chicago, right?
Yeah, Chicago was actually before Broadway or Bust. It was it was actually my first show in the Valley. So
nice.
That was my first audition, really, and that was so cool. I loved the show Chicago, and it was always a dream to be in that. And so that was so great, and I met so many of forever friends at this point in that show, and so that was a really cool experience.
Coming up, find out how a little encouragement from her mother helped Kristen land the lead role in her very first audition. We'll also talk to her about her brush with the blues. Right now, as many of you know, the Broadway musical Hamilton has been released for streaming on Disney+. A lot of us are really excited about that. That got us thinking about other legendary shows and their stars. So this week's question, what Broadway actor or actress, living or not, would you like to appear on stage with, and in what show?
Definitely Bernadette Peters, because she is so amazing. I mean, her voice is amazing. She can sing, she can dance, she can act. I think if I could be with anybody, I would love to just pick her brain and learn as much as I could from her and just shadow her in everything she does.
I have such a profound respect for Lin-Manuel Miranda. I would love to appear in a production of In the Heights with him, or even just be in a production of In the Heights.
Yeah.
She played Zoe in Dear Evan Hansen.
I would love to be on stage with Audra McDonald. I don't care what show. I don't care what role I play. I just want to be on stage with Audra McDonald. That's all.
Bernadette Peters in Gypsy.
And my mind went straight to Babs. And then I was like, no, everyone would think Barbra Streisand, right? So I had to pick something different. But honestly, I stand by my impulse, Barbra Streisand, and we would be, would be Barnaby and Cornelius, and someone else would be Dolly.
Obviously, like Bernadette Peters, Patti LuPone, and then Megan Hilty's amazing. Oh gosh, I really like Adam Pascal, so I would like to maybe be opposite of him.
Kristen Chenoweth. Neil Patrick Harris, I would do just about any show with. I would love to see him play the Squip in Be More Chill.
I honestly would love to Be More Chill in any respect, especially with George Salazar. As far as dead goes, I would have to find the bones of Daryl Mostel, and we'll just go through his whole repertoire in like one unholy night.
Blues in the Night was so cool because we got to sing just such beautiful music, and it's actually not a style I've sung a lot of. I do a lot of different styles, but that was, kind of something different. And I love the wardrobe and the hair, and it was such a neat story. The characters we all played were kind of symbolic in a way, and my character was very, very, I guess, naive and hopeful, and it was interesting because I was kind of the young one of the young naive one, and I hadn't been previously cast in roles like that, so it was kind of cool to delve back into like how I used to feel in my like 20s, getting ready for a date and being so hopeful, and then getting stood up, and I've been there. I can't say we've all been there, but I've been there.
The three of you, you and Jennifer and Rose, you three sang together. It was magic.
The combination of our voices was pretty perfect, and I don't even know if it's something that we knew would happen or not. It just kind of magically came together like that. But yeah, it was perfect. All three of us had very different voices, but it really meshed well, and also just had a blast with also Brant, having him in the room, and just everything about that was just definitely a really wonderful experience. And I know it was also, bittersweet, being that that's when we lost our Michael. And, I always will, unfortunately, connect it to that. But at the same time, there's nowhere else I would have rather been during that time than with you and your family, and working on a show that he was so excited about. And I know he was watching us from above. So.
Yes, he definitely was. So let's go back way to the beginning. How on earth did you, of course, you're very talented, so of course it makes sense that you would find your way to the stage. And but how did it all start for you?
Well, I pretty much came out of the womb singing. So, I think, I sang before I could talk. I just was always singing. And then, I started doing choir and stuff in school, and I would get solos. And I think there was some point along the line where my mom just kind of started to realize, like, she's actually pretty good, and so there was an audition posting in the newspaper for Annie, the musical. And my mom said, you should audition. You probably won't get Annie, but you could be one of the orphans. This might be a great thing. So I auditioned. I sang that song, Maybe, from the show. And I got cast as Annie. And I was 10 years old. I was 9 when I got cast, 10 when I did the show. And I couldn't have been more green. I was very new, but that was almost endearing about it. We still have the video, and yeah, it's very sweet, and was the beginnings of my my lifelong love of theater. And I just kind of haven't really stopped, maybe little breaks here and there, but just been doing theater my whole life since then. And it's my home.
Previously on Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. Dr. Frank McKenzie has been found shot to death in his own office, and his wife Rose is the prime suspect. She says she didn't do it, and Police Inspector Albert Locke believes her. He turns to Private Eye Cam Duncan for help.
What I need you to do is find a way to prove her innocence.
When Cam questions Rose McKenzie, he gets the same story.
I didn't kill my husband. I loved him.
So Cam makes a call on Dr. McKenzie's nurse, but that interview goes nowhere.
Like I said, I mind my own business.
Cam can't quite understand why Inspector Locke is so determined to protect Rose, despite all the evidence against her, until Locke makes a surprising revelation.
She's my sister.
Cam agrees to meet Inspector Locke later at a local diner, but that encounter couldn't have gone worse.
Rose, you have to. She's in danger.
With Locke gone, Cam is in a race against time to get to Rose and find the truth. And now, the thrilling conclusion of Cam Duncan and the dilemma of the doctor's wife. With Lynn Dutra as Sally O'Brien, Meagan Kirby as Rose Mackenzie, and David Alonso Rodriguez as Private Detective Cam Duncan.
Rose Mackenzie's address was uptown, way uptown, and I needed to get there fast. It was a risky move leaving the crime scene, but if Rose was in trouble, taking the time to explain that to the cops would have taken too long. I made a quick stop in the office to pick up my .45, then set out to find the nearest cab. I couldn't shake the image of Locke lying there on the diner floor, but I knew I needed to find a way to put it out of my mind. I had no idea what was waiting for me at Rose Mackenzie's place. It didn't take long to find out. I got to the house and let the cab go. No idea how I was getting back to the city, but I really wasn't thinking about that yet. The house looked about what you'd expect for a high-class doctor. Great neighborhood, nice lawn. Just one thing wrong. The house was dark, and the front door was open. I stepped inside. Nice entryway. So this is how the other half lives. It was dark inside, but I could see a light at the end of the hallway. Only one thing to do. Head that way and check it out. But just to be on the safe side, I decided to let my revolver lead the way.
Cam pulls his gun and quietly makes his way down the hall. He stops briefly at the door and then cautiously enters. It's a parlor room with overstuffed chairs, side tables, and a fireplace. Cam sees a figure dressed in an overcoat and hat, packing some things into a large carpet bag. He levels his gun at the figure.
Put your hands up where I can see them.
The figure freezes momentarily, then slowly raises hands.
Turn around, slowly. And while you're at it, tell me where Mrs. Mackenzie is.
The figure turns to face Cam, head lowered, and a hat covering his face.
Maybe you didn't hear me. Where is Mrs. Mackenzie?
The figure slowly raises his head, and we see a face.
Right in front of you.
Rose?
Mr. Duncan, I know how this looks, but I assure you...
Stop. Don't bother. The overcoat, the hat, the carpet bag, the mysterious man outside the building the day of the murder, and this afternoon at the diner. It was you all along.
You don't understand.
Sure I do. I understand about Doc Mackenzie, unhappy wife whose husband won't give her a divorce or the money she thinks she deserves. With the husband dead, she gets both her freedom and the money. So you dress up in men's clothes and wait outside the building until you see the nurse leave. Then you go inside and change back into Rose Mackenzie. You stash the coat and the hat in the bag and hide it somewhere, wait until you come back for it. Then you're about to walk straight into the doc's office and no one takes a second look. But the thing I don't get, why kill Locke, the one person fighting to protect you? Your own brother. Unless that was a lie too.
Rose's face changes as she realizes Cam has figured it out.
Why, Mr. Duncan, it seems you're smarter than you look.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
I'd like to explain it to you, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable doing so without a gun pointed at me. Please, I am unarmed, and I'm tired of running.
Cam thinks for a moment and slowly lowers his gun. Rose sinks into a chair while Cam, still on his guard, remains standing.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. I've been on my own for most of my life. My parents deserted me when I was very young, just 5 years old. They just left me on the doorstep of a church and told me to wait for them. They never came back, and I never saw them again. The priest took me to a children's home, and that's where I grew up. It was difficult. Most of us spent long days working in a factory. Food was scarce, but I learned how to get what I needed to survive.
That's a sad story. Still waiting for the part that justifies murder.
Rose rises and Cam puts up the gun.
Not so fast.
Would you like a drink, Mr. Duncan? I know I could use one.
No, thank you.
May I then?
Cam nods and lowers the gun. Rose moves to a table set with bottles, a decanter, and glasses. She makes a drink and moves back to face Cam.
The one bright spot in all this was my friend, my best friend, and the only person I could trust. Her name was Molly.
Locke's real sister.
Yes. She barely remembered Albert, but she talked about him all the time. She was convinced he would be coming to get her someday. She had some photographs in a box she kept under her bed. Molly told me everything she knew about Albert and her family so many times. I knew the story by heart. Then, when we were 16, there was a fire at the children's home. It was chaos, and I grabbed everything I could carry before running out, including Molly's box. But I couldn't find Molly. I found out later she died in the fire. Do you know what it's like to lose a friend like that?
Yes, I'm afraid I do. So when did you decide to become Molly? And why? Was it just to get Albert Locke on your side?
Like I said, Mr. Duncan, I do what I need to survive.
With a sudden movement, Rose throws the contents of her glass in Cam's face. He staggers back a few steps and drops his gun. He wipes his eyes and sees that Rose now has a gun pointed at him. We now see her for what she really is.
Stay where you are, Mr. Duncan. Or may I still call you Cam?
Rose, or whoever you are, you don't have to do this.
Oh, I think I do. I can see that you're not nearly as gullible as my late husband and Inspector Locke. All Frank needed was a little flattery. And Locke, he was so desperate to believe his long-lost sister had found him. It was easy enough to get a copy of Molly's birth certificate, and I knew enough about his family history to convince him of the rest.
So why kill him?
He made the mistake of looking into the children's home and the fire. It was only a matter of time before he learned the truth about Molly's death.
Rose is moving toward the door now. Her eyes and the gun remain fixed on Cam.
You know, I really do need to thank you. As you can see, I was packing to leave town, but now I'll be able to stay here in this house with Frank's money and resume my role as the grieving widow. Just one loose end to tie up. You and your little secretary are the only ones who know about Locke's so-called sister. I'll take care of her shortly, but since you are already here...
No. Leave Sally out of this.
That's sweet, but I'm afraid I can't do that.
Sally quietly enters the room behind Rose. Cam sees her, but doesn't let on.
As for you, I'll be calling the police shortly to let them know that I found an intruder in my house and shot him in self-defense. A few tears should convince them that I had no way to know it was you. And don't worry about Sally. I'll make it look like an accident. Goodbye, Mr. Duncan.
Sally looks around and finds a bottle on a nearby table. She raises it up and smashes it over Rose's head. Rose slumps to the floor, unconscious. Cam rushes in and retrieves his gun and kicks Rose's weapon away from her hand.
Sally, are you all right?
Yes. What about her?
She's out cold. Good job, Slugger. What are you doing here? I told you to stay away.
Lucky for you, I'm not very good at following directions.
Yeah, lucky for me.
Rose starts to stir.
Call it in, Sally. I'll keep an eye on this one.
Sally starts to exit to look for a phone.
Sally, about Inspector Locke. I need to tell you.
I know. I stopped by the diner before coming here.
Sally touches Cam's arm gently and exits to find the phone. Rose regains consciousness only to find herself face to face with Cam's revolver.
It's all over, Rose. If that's even your real name.
I don't suppose it matters now. You don't really think you can make this stick, do you?
That's for the court to decide. What I do know is you killed your husband in cold blood, and then Albert Locke. The only good thing in all this is that he died believing he found his sister.
Then he was a fool.
Maybe so, but he was also a good man and a good cop who would have done anything to protect you. But now he's gone. And that's something you might regret once the boys from the precinct get here, because if there's one thing they don't take kindly to, it's someone who murders one of their own.
Lights come up on Cam's office. Sally is on the phone.
Sure, I'll see that he gets the message. Thank you. Goodbye.
Sally hangs up. Cam enters as the phone begins ringing again. Sally picks it up.
Cam Duncan, private investigator. Yes, we are taking new cases. Would you like to make an appointment? All right. We can see you 1 week from Thursday at 2 o'clock. May I have your name? All right. I have you in the book. Yes, I'll let you know if there's a cancellation. Thank you. Goodbye.
Sally hangs up the phone and then takes it off the hook.
It's been like that all morning. I'm almost sorry you had the phone reconnected. I guess that's what happens when you're front page news.
Not exactly the way I wanted to get noticed, but at least everybody knows the truth about Rose now. And Locke.
Cam, if you want to take the day off, I can cancel your afternoon appointments. The funeral was just yesterday, and no one would blame you if...
No need for that. I need to keep busy.
It was a really nice service, though, wasn't it?
Full police department honors. It's what he deserved. And if Locke were here right now, he'd be saying, Duncan, stop moping around and get back to work. We got a case to solve. Let's not disappoint him.
Sally starts to put the phone back on the hook, but Cam stops her.
Wait a minute, Sal. I was thinking maybe after we close up, you and me get some dinner. I know it's a little Italian place. Of course, if you don't want to, I understand. I just thought maybe...
Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah? Well, that's great. And I'm buying, so you get whatever you want, okay? Bet you never thought you'd hear me say that. Okay, so what have we got going on for today?
Well, at 11 o'clock, you have Mr. and Mrs. Abernathy. They've been hearing strange noises in their backyard during the night, and they think their neighbor is up to something. Then at 1, you have Mrs. Newton. She thinks someone is coming into her house whenever she's out rearranging all her furniture. Then at 3, you have...
Okay, talk about a twist ending. And it looks like they may have left things open for future Cam Duncan adventures. Thank you again to David, Meagan, Lynn, John, and Tony for being part of our virtual staged reading. We will definitely be looking for more things like that to put on the show. As for shows in real life, we are still planning to do one with our improv troupe, even as we look for a stage to put it on. We're planning to hold auditions soon for a show we're calling Breaking Up Broadway Style. It's sort of a review of the great breakup songs from Broadway shows. Though in order to adapt to the times, we might make it more of a play on social distancing. Anyway, we'll be holding those auditions through Zoom, so look for more information on that in the near future. And don't forget to make your submission for our public domain concert series. It's easy, it's fun, and we would love to put you on our show. So send your video to kathywing.randalltheater@gmail.com and we will do the rest. If you would like to support the Randall Theater with a donation, and we hope you do, just go to the link at the bottom of your screen or click on the donate button at randalltheater.com. And if you donate $20 or more, we will send you one of our 2-tone Theater Strong wristbands. As always, you can catch up on our Ghostlighting shows anytime on the Randall Theatre Company Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time, but until then, we'll keep the ghost light on for you.